Tea for a African History and Heritage TV. And that's also Muslim for historian Ogyeamansan. Majia kunya amede kasebo ebremo. Na ne kasebo yi de adutwam kura. January 6, 2025. Sunyani Traditional Council ekusi hene. Na urabia ye friend Mr. Yao Ajare ena yede ni si akunwa so na kunwa dia yede ma no ne Ogyeamansan bo ahenkoko a etoso mienu na ahensie ewie ye no ebadane pinchen mentem ho ase bi eba mu ma ye na Obahema a ye friend na kusu adua so sika brahi a otoso mienu the Assembly Kodan Bono Regional House of Chiefs Judicial Committee se on tene ho ase if say ahensi no se ne isiko enetiamra ne sentia amamre na eno court no enyankwa setran no na osan ekosre court no se isan se uruwa na yi no so sunwa man hene no eye Mr. Jare no kwana ye fa so yi no etia mranti no Bono Regional House of Chiefs en fatabo entono so se ma onye ne ho se oye ohene babia wo Sunyani traditional area aha ana se Ghana mamu ha na sa simbetu dwa no African History and Heritage TV ye say no ye be mu hwehwemu if say Sunyani de na nka yedim sa asomdue kru na otramu bobra eyiye se ne yede mentem ho ase ye betwetwe tu ewo krum ha dia na emfata enti African History and Heritage TV ye se ye betie ho agumro no so na ya yenhwehwemu na yede ne ekone ne ba abetudwa se beyo na amanfo ebehunu nokora ewom na obi amfa nokora unimunti wankotwetu anase wankotwe sekan na yehye yenhwehwemu ase no yenya krata bia ye frene legislative instrument Sunyani Traditional Council omankasa aye bemra enoni kitami LI 1972 ekire kwan a ye faso esi hene ene kwan a ye faso etu hene enti ya African History and Heritage TV for ibisa ye ho se na Sunyani Traditional Council mo wo mra mo faso si hene faso tu hene dia ene adentima ya si hene na edimentem ho ase aba mra no ena mo niso ana de ne ba enti ye beye mu hwehwemu na ye dia betudwa na ye hwehwemu no ekowie se substantive case no case ba no a ye nana Obahema Edekodam Bono Regional House of Chiefs Judicial Committee se ye nka no eno de edaho na mbom tabo a ye nana Obahema kosre se ye mfanto owu Mr. Jare so se onye de ho so oye Sunyani man hene na ye nana akwam hene so a ono oye acting president of Sunyani Traditional Council no ye mfatabo entono so se ma onkoso ye nana ye Ajare ensa empeja no babia se oye man hene no eno de ye bu awie na kwa ofa so bu aye ene de bremu isan se eno de ye bu awie no nkrata wo hu bia no abeye public document a obia tim kenkamu no kamu asembi ye bu awie dia obia tim kamu asem enunti eno ho kasebo ne de bremu asemba no de yenyamwa edaso konkonkot ho enti eno de eneye nka ho asem efise asema edakoto yimwaye de o ka ho asema na chese emra bi bediu se wabukoto nimtia enti nye eno ene ka na mom injunction no eho ruling ene yensa ka yede ebremu. The Judicial Committee of the Bono Regional House of Chiefs sitting at Sunyani this 8th day of April 2025, a suit number BR/AC/P.1/2025, quorum Atimuafonuni, quorum Okochiredom Sechiakon, the second, Drobohene, chairman, Dasibre Ogyeamansan the second, Nsoko Hene, member, Osabarima Debraji the second, Sekwamai Hene, member, and Mr. Kwaku Jamra, counsel or lawyer of Bono Regional House of Chiefs. Bene Betran Asemnoswa, Bede Saati Muya Ebaye. Now, Obia Ode Adisredia Kodan Court to say court umfa tabu. Onene Nana Akusue Dua Asosika Braye the second, the Paramount Queen Mother of Sunyani. Now, verses 1 Yao Ajare, 2 Nana Kwaku Sabin Akwamuhine, respondent. Inti ye Nana Obahema ekoye case no editia sa enipa mienui. Counsel Kwame Chumasi Awua with him Donat Awintoma Adabere for petitioner. Ye Nana Obahema ono ne lawyer for enambo obedin. Kwaku Ankweje with him Patrick Aboko for the respondents. Ye Nana no mienu abebo bekwa duye ye ura ye wajare ne Nana Kwaku Sabin so belo yane mebo nidino. Now, ruling on motion for an order of interlocutory injunction. Atimuno emunia nimi assembly. Osi, in this application, the petitioner herein praying for an order of injunction to restrain the first respondent from styling and conducting himself as Paramount Chief of Sunyani traditional area, and furthermore to have anything to do in connection with Sunyani Paramount too, and furthermore an order to restrain the second respondent from introducing or parading the first respondent as Paramount Chief of Sunyani traditional area in any manner whatsoever. The applicant herein supported the application with a 23-paragraph affidavit as well as annexes. Obahema Edikodan court no say, Omfata bonto Mr. Yawajaresema onye ne hoso yo hene wo Sunyani traditional area. Ena na Kwaku Sabin so a oye akwamhene omfata abo ento no so se ono so onkoso ura yawa ajare ensa empaja no so yo hene e wo Sunyani traditional area. Na ye nana ede kwadu pore aduonu miensa ede bo saafo mienu na ordinary dance die so supported. As is to be expected in such applications, the respondents opposed say and filed a 33-paragraph affidavit in opposition to the application. The respondent also attached exhibit to the affidavit in opposition sworn by the second respondent hearing. Ozekoba sano nananu mienu eye nana yawajare asabri yesi nehene ene Nana Kwaku Sabin a oye kwamhene acting president Sunyani traditional council no eso edibi muaye ekor. Na kwadu aye Nana Obahema eboye no ena mede bai. In this ruling, we shall refer to the relevant parts of the affidavit filed by the parties herein. In paragraph 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 13, 16, 18, 19, and 22 of the affidavit in support, applicants averred as follows. Or say, Yenana Obahema ne kwadu no numno, Ninsempono a ukuchire gun krataso no, babia ne hunhia court no, ena edi this way, that the Sunyani too has become vacant due to the demise of Nana Bosman Sonkrewi II, and a successor has to be chosen in accordance with custom to be installed as Paramount Chief. Yenana say Sunyani, Yenana Bosman Sonkrewi II Shebane Woko Hia say yesi or Hinefofro. Number 5, paragraph 5, that by custom, I have the customary discretion and privilege to select a candidate from the male members of the royal family to be installed as a Omanhene of Sunyani traditional area. Yena no Ogyeamansan say, amamre mu no ono nkwa na wotumi say, pow, or this year say, yedin didi akunya. Number 6, that in all 7 male royal members of the Boyan Koko family have applied to be considered for the vacant stool and have presented the customary drinks to me for my consideration. Yenana HSA addition son and abede and san ecoman or sebe pakunyana di. Number 7, that after receiving the customary drinks, I tasked the second respondent and orders to conduct a background check on the candidate to find out whether they have had an infraction with the law to enable me make a selection. Or say, yeah, nana, HSA, sa adesye no den sano ko ye no o kanchire ye nana koku sabina o ye kwamhene no ye acting president Sunyani Traditional Council say onye adesye nsu ombisa bachi na onhwe nea ofata se mramane kwan se yedini di ohina eyi. Now number 8, that without my consent and authority, the second respondent on the 6th January 2025 installed the first respondent as Omanhene of Sunyani Traditional Council in front of an old palace under a tree with the stool name or therefore Ogyeamansan Boahen Koko II. Ose yana na koku sapeng a ye Okwamhene or the first respondent Mr. Yawojare ekusi akunwa so ewo Sunyani ahimfi dano anim ho na omanidin or therefore Ogyeamansan Boahen Koko II. That as Queen Mother, I have the customary privilege and honor to nominate a candidate from the royal family to be installed as Paramount Chief. Therefore, the conduct of the first respondent is a complete usurpation of my customary function and role to nominate a candidate from the royal family. Or say, amamre kwanso ono Ogyeamansan no nkwa na ewo ho kwanso obo bidi na edi nisi akunwa so. Na ye nana Okwamhene edi obi akosi akunwa so de na chese wagina adwuma ye. 16, that the conduct of the second respondent by nominating and installing the first respondent as Omanhene of Sunyani under a tree has affected the dignity, aura, and sanctity of the stool. Furthermore, the second respondent lacked capacity to nominate and install the first respondent as Paramount Chief of Sunyani. Therefore, the purported nomination and installation is not valid and same must be set aside. Yena na se ono nana koku sabeng a oye Okwamhene edne ho kwan so bo bidin edne si akunwa so. Na kwan kura ofa so edne si akunwa so no le tiambra enti court no emontungu. 18, that I am advised that a great harm and irreparable damage will be caused to the stool if the first respondent, who has not been validly nominated and installed as Paramount Chief in accordance with custom, is allowed to style and conduct himself as Paramount Chief of Sunyani Traditional Area. Therefore, first respondent must be restrained on the orders of this committee from conducting and styling himself as Paramount Chief. Or say na se be makwan court no makwan Mr. Yawojare eye no ho se Sunyanihemaa itiamra na emwa kwakwa enti court no enhye no se onye ne ho se Sunyanihemaa. That I am further advised that the second respondent lacked capacity to nominate a candidate to be installed as Paramount Chief. Therefore, the purported installation of first respondent is contrary to custom. Therefore, he must be restrained from styling and conducting himself as Paramount Chief. And yena can say, etiamra kwa say, nana Okwamhene oye second respondent or ne ho kwan kwa. So si hene nyo ne si hene edemano. Enti court no enhye no na obi ordinary si hene no ma onye ne ho so oyo hene. The applicant finally prayed the committee to injunct the first respondent from carrying and styling himself as Paramount Chief of Sunyani and the second respondent from introducing the first respondent as Paramount Chief of Sunyani. Now this redia yena na Ogyeamansan de call yena say court no Sunyani House of Chiefs court no emfa tabo ento owura ajare so ma onye ne ho so o na Sunyanihemaa na Nana Kwaku Saben so a ono oya komhene na osanye acting president ma onso Mr. Yao Ajarensa babia emoni din se oye Sunyanihemaa na ekoba sa no na tese mram no esese ye nana akomuhene ono so ordina no yi eba the respondent herein in paragraphs 5, 7, 8, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 18, 19, 24, 25, 28, 30, and 32 of the affidavit in opposition are read as follows. Na yenana komhene so nimwaya odema yene. Number 5, that the petitioner's role as queen mother is to nominate a candidate or candidate as the case may be for selection and election by the kingmakers of the traditional area. Yenana say, Sunyanihemaa de ono na duma ese o yede so obebody hye bidin na yen asi ahenefo yede no kosi akonwa so. 7, that 7 male royal members of the Boahen Koko family have paid their customary brains and have been considered by the kingmakers. Or say nipan so na bebo bedin se bedin sa akọ ema ye Sunyanihemaa enti mejetum se nipan so na Sunyanihemaa de omdin bae. Number 8, that the petitioner as queen mother of Sunyani traditional area played her customary role by nominating 7 male members of the Boahen Koko royal family for selecting an election by the kingmakers of the Sunyani traditional area. Also, yanana Ogyeamansan de amamre kwan so dwumadi eso di se obo adehye bidin no de be mayen asi ahenefo Kingmakers ne to be so abayi ne fata no why any form de awie. That on the 12th December 2024, Nana Kwadu Boahen, the second Jasehene of Sunyani traditional area prepared the list of nominees which the petitioner had in consultation with the relevant stakeholders of the Boahen Koko royal family nominated for onward selection and election by the kingmakers of Sunyani traditional area. Na yena na yena na kwamu yena na Ogyeamansan anono kazo na ye bronya chi bosme du mienu no afe na etwa mu no na Jasehene de krata bi koma won asa krata no na adehye a batuan sade ama Sunyanihemaa no sa bedin ewom edema wom sa adehye na Ogyeamansan apa won anase batua ansa ama Nana Ogyeamansan na sa krata no edikita mi nokre yebehu se krata no Nana Kwadu Boahen the second Jasehene Sunyani traditional area wasan na itrensem no ose notice of the nomination of aspirant for the Sunyanihemaa stool of the Sunyani traditional area, letter written on the 12th December 2024 or say yes and also wakan also bonka yese adisi ababo bedin se esese be koto be so aba be totoba no na be to be so aba yi ba ko mane kotena Boahen Koko akonwa so beni the din obo ye number 1 osi Mr. Yao Ajare, Mr. Kofi Wusu, Dr. Ose Tutu, Mr. Kofi Odrua Chemfo, Mr. Frank Hall Bedu, Mr. Richard Kwabna Mensa, Mr. Kofi Manu Adom. Adehye ensoin na yena na Jasehene ono ne signature ne wo ha fefefe Nana Kwadu Boahen otwere bedin de koma eye letter we de koma asi ahenefo se safwe na Ogyeamansan de ne din abre wo mu senia Sunyani ela no ekire no that the letter nominating the aspirant was served on all the aspirants and the petitioners hearing that osi sakrata we Nana Jasehene edbi ekoye de ema Ogyeamansan say yes adehye na ode bebre no abusuafo ne ono Nana Ogyeamansan de beti se ho epa abe no beni ode letter no copy ekoma Nana Ogyeamansan that the letter is started notice on the nomination of aspirants for the Sunyanihemaa stew of the Sunyani traditional area, Makaiho, that the petitioner called a meeting with the Kingmakers and presented the list of 7 eligible male members of the Boahen Koko royal family as persons who have been duly nominated for selection and election of the Kingmakers. Or say, Yanana Obahema so efre asia hinifui, no de chrebe se, nipan son ede den san ba waje na emu baako na SSB yino na obedi hene no. That it is the case of the respondents that the Nifahine sought from the petitioner 3 times at the said meeting to confirm that he was satisfied with the list of 7 male members presented for selection and election, and she answered in the affirmative on 3 occasions. Or say, Nana Nifahine ebisa ye Nana Obahema se nanya bia adehia nso a odibedin abreye se be ugidi se be nyina be fata se ne ye be yinu bia no ye do no ba obegina tum ema ye Nana Obahema kan se yes obi a be yinu bia no be do no ba obegino ayeden atum. That the Kingmakers that selected and elected the first respondent as the Omahine of Sunyani traditional area are Nana Kwaku Sabin II, the Kwamhine acting president of Sunyani Traditional Council, and second respondent hearing. Yes, I see a hinefua. Beno be yi uwe ye wajare so ne fata se dini di mahina ye ewo Sunyani nkonwa asase so no eni Nana Kwamhine ama bonidi Nana Ofori ye boadi ewu the second benkumhine Nana boadi akrufa the second adontinhine Nana Sante Krobia the second twafo hine and Nana Kwame Kuntuma the fourth Nifahine sa asia hinefo yi ene kototo adehye ano na beyi ne yefate. That the second defendant says that he presided over the meeting of the Kingmakers, and after going through a rigorous vetting process with all the 7 males submitted to the Kingmakers selected and elected the first respondent by consensus. Near Okane se ye Nana Kwaku Sabin chire se asia hinefo no hia ye no nene tapunoti ena ba be nyina ba no ko benkrum se owura ya ajare ena ye yino edene di Sunyahina eye. That the instrument of the first respondent on the 6th January 2025 was done properly and in line with LI 1972-2010, and the instrument took place within the presence of 4 walls of the old Sunyani palace, but not under any big tree outside the walls of the palace. Or say, eye bronya bosme na edikan ede tosunsia afi we ya ewo mu ya ena besi owura ya ajare hene ewo Sunyani ahemfie dada num ho ahemfie dada mba to wall afa ho ahia enti dada no anim ho ena besi ne hene na nyese ebedo no kotra duabiase ena esi ne hene. That the second respondent has the legal duty and authority to introduce the first respondent to the general public as the Omahine of the Sunyani traditional area, and that is what he did on the 8th January 2025. Now, ochire say 8th January 2025, eno no Nana Kwaku Sabin ode uwe ya yapane se Sunyani echire Sunyani. That since the first respondent was validly nominated, selected, elected, and installed as Omahine of Sunyani traditional area, it will not be proper and equitable to restrain him from performing his customary and statutory duties as a chief. Or say, esan say, Nana owura ye wajare ye de na si hene ya fa mamre kwanso de na si hene se Sunyani ntino emmoa se ye de tabo beto ne so se ne kwanso oye ne ho so oye o hene e Sunyani mu ha. That the petitioner or applicant has not been able to demonstrate the hardship and the harm he claims he will suffer if this application is refused. Or the Nana Omanihemaa chire se yamfa tabo anto owura ye wajare so a edi oha beba no Ninchechiremo de buy and chesa want man chiremana to asumu. That on the balance of convenience, it will not be proper to grant this application, since granting the application will lead to chaos in the administrative setup in the Sunyani traditional area, because that would mean there will be no Paramount Chief. Now, yena na koku saben say no, court no, osra no say sa tabo no de, court no nyentum, if you say court no jetuma, ase chese Sunyani ye nya hene. Na ye nya hene so a de basa ye ebeba Sunyani kuruduanom. Enti ema court no enye yena na Ogyeamansan na sem no entum. Na yena na koku saben ono na dansidie no adansidie a ode kyereye nkrata a ode edi adanse ebi ne wei ne na jase hene na kwadwo boahen o kyereye a o liste adehye nson no nyina eni. That is number 1. Enti onya adansidie ede bai. Now osane ede krata bi edi adanse na ne krata a odi adanse no de Odidi adanse na a press conference bia oyeye or sit to all media houses, print and electronic and social media, selection or election of candidate to be installed as Ogyeamansan of Sunyani traditional area or no odeye na dance di na ne ochre ne se Sunyanihemaa ede adehye ekoma no ana ode koma asi ahenefo no ana asi ahenefo no ye press conference ede kire oman no na press conference no emu asem ni ena me be kenkan fi so ode sem no press conference ni twin sem no also selection or election of a candidate to be installed as Ogyeamansan of Sunyani traditional area. Also not quite long ago, the Queen Mother of Sunyani traditional area, Nana Akosua Asop Brahiye II, invited me to her office at the New Palace in the presence of Nana Mensa Abrampa, Abakmahine of Sunyani, and requested that I get the Kingmakers together and custom demands take the necessary steps to get a candidate for installment as Ogyeamansan of Sunyani. Before the Kingmakers held its first meeting, the Queen Mother presented the names of all the eligible candidates for consideration by the Kingmakers. Or say, Nana Ogyeamansan Efreno, no one office. A company na ekase. Or say, Nana Ogyeamansan Fro no ankasa. No Nana Ogyeamansan no ne office. Sunyani ahemfie foforo no mo. Nana Mensa Abrampa ya abakoma he no ka ho bi e na ode to nanim se ebraso se obebobo asi ahenefo na no na o ma hwe kwan on be fa so a on be yi ode hye mane akudi Sunyani akunwa ntintemara na ono so ode ose ye oyo e na oboabo a asi ahenefo na no. According to the Queen Mother, she consulted with the heads of the 3 gates which constitute the Boahinkoko royal family before she came out with a list of 7 candidates which she submitted for the consideration of Kingmakers. The Kingmakers commenced our vetting on 17 December 2024 and completed work on 23 December 2023. Also, Ehono Nanahemaa emane tiase se sa adehye nso ya opa oni one Boahinkoko abusuafo no nyina ene dwen ho na be nyina ba no ko bankrom ena be yi sa adehye nso 7 totoba no enti asi aherefo nso toto adehye eno ano. For the avoidance of doubt, when the Queen Mother submitted the names of the persons to be considered for selection, the Nifahine of Sunyani Nana Kwame Kuntuma IV asked her on 3 occasions whether or not all the 7 persons presented or nominated by her qualified to be considered, and she affirmed before all the members that they all qualified to be considered or vetted and assure the Kingmakers that she, the Queen Mother, would accept the outcome of every decision taken by the Kingmakers, since that is customary final. Na ose na hema ede adehye nson din no ko he no. Si ahenefo bisa no na kuntuma de fofa ono oye ni fahene ewo Sunyani na nanom atrankudwa ebisa no mprensa. Se na anya bia nipa so ode babai. Ne ya ugidi se obi aye dehye se ye yinu a ofata ma oje pene mprensa. Ladies and gentlemen of the media, the following persons were nominated by the Queen Mother of Sunyani for the Kingmakers to vet them for selection. They are Yao Ajareba, Nana Obahema Ebo Bidini, no de Bema, Sia Hene for Sebento Tobano, Naben Tobes Wabana Bini or Fateni, Yao Ajare, Dr. Osei Kofi Usu, Franco Bedu, Richard Mensah, Opoku Achamfo, and Adumbanu Adeshe Elson Eni. The Kingmakers, which constituted the vetting committee, took all the 7 candidates through rigorous and extensive vetting process and consultations with the family before the Kingmakers unanimously selected Yao Ajare as a person suitable to be installed as the Omahine of Sunyani traditional area to succeed the late Omahine of Sunyani. Ose, asi ahene foi betoto sa foi nyina ano ansa na be paw owura Yao Ajare so ne fata se edi ne di hina eye. Ladies and gentlemen of the media, on the 24th December 2024, on the eve of Christmas, I led the Kingmakers as a commissioner and acting president of Sunyani traditional area to present the name of the selected or approved candidate, Yao Ajare, to the Queen Mother of Sunyani, who was in the company of Abakmahine of Sunyani, Nana Mensah Abrompa, and the head of the entire Boahenkoko royal family, Nana Obriebwa. Ose, 24th December, da besi bronya biana nkasa afia Ogyeamansan, ono Nana Okwamhene, a osaye acting president Sunyani traditional area no. Ono eso owura Yao Ajare nsa edi nanim ede ne kokyere Obahema ono ani fi ene Abakumahene ene Nana Mensah Brampa Abakumahene oye Nana Mensah Abrampa ene Boahenkoko abusuapanyina yefre no Nana Obriebwa ono anso Mr. Yao Ajare nsa de ne kokyere we se asi ahenefo no sa papa yi ena omayeden omopa no se omedi ehene ewo Sunyani traditional area. The 3 gates that constitute the Boahenkoko royal family are also adeshikuo miensa a bedi Boahenkoko akunwa kese no eye kwantwiwa abusua ene nyantatwa abusua yesanfre ne amabiani abusua ene akosua dua abusua na adehye nswin ye pa be frisa abusua emiensam. The following persons constituted the Kingmakers that sat to vet and select suitable candidate for installment as Omahine of Sunyani. Ose ba betena se a mram ene amamre ne amane kwanso no beye asi ahenefo na betoto adehye no eyi baako anase dehye no ye baako kora betoto na no so ofatase be siri hene no bene akomuhene Nana Kwaku Saben otoso mienu oye akomuhene Nana Obriebwa odi ewu otoso mienu benkuhene Nana Boadi Akurufa otoso mienu a ono soso oye adontehene Nana Sante Krobi otoso mienu oye twafo hene Nana Kwame Kuntuma otoso enan a oye nifahene. The Kingmakers unanimously approved and selected Yao Ajare to be installed as Omahine of Sunyani traditional area. Kingmakers no be nyina ba no call benkrum ena beyi owura Yao Ajare se ono ena oye Sunyanihemaa na according to adansidie krata we a ye nana akwamhene ode supporto ni nkurubo no o kire se be yi ne hene na ode be kire na ahema abusuapanyini ene abakma hene ewie ye no na of friends entwerefo enhyiamu na ode beto ode eto ntwerefo anim se ne Sunyaman ayeni nti ode sa krata we eka na dansidie ho na yenkwe na krata ba ko a osan edeka na dansidie ho no etrasem no osi invitation to the installment of Mr. Yao Ajare, chief elect as the Paramount Chief of the Sunyani Traditional Council, let away every Sunyani Traditional Council, or no 30th December 2024. 30th December 2024 no na odisa akrata we ekoma abusuapanyini Kingmakers asi ahenfo a odika bobo bedin ene elders of royal family mama ene nana Ogyeamansan ene sons of former chiefs ahemfo body akunwa no bipen no bemmanom ene frebe sons of former chiefs according to the airline no se besi hene no a saafo no yina esesebe wo ho ansa na dehye na abapa no waso mpomponsuo mu anasa afenamu na wosai akyerebe mabaaje na atum enti no ode sakrata edi adanse se eye bronya bosome no a edikan da etosunsia no ode to saafo ya nim eye Mr. Jare no yede no besi akonwa so eye Sunyani manhene na himfie ho eye awia edumienu na nakoku saben na wasan sakratai na sakratai or the copy ema abusuafo enu nyina na Sunyani Traditional Council for nso obia ensa eka ne copy or the no eka na dance die ho now and all the sakrata we so sa na dance die ho na sakrata no the na dance die ho no said from Sunyani Traditional Council or train 8th January 2025 to all institutions, churches, organizations, etc. or see DSL Madam notice of installment of a mine of Sunyani traditional area. This is to bring to your notice that a new Paramount Chief of Sunyani traditional area has been installed and installed after going through relevant customary procedures on Monday, 6th January 2025. Or say, Ogyeamansan Jare iswawie yanonso ono nana koku saben ayo oye acting president of Sunyani Traditional Council or santre sakrata we ebo ne dawru ema ansore a ene nyumaku a ewo Sunyama mu ha nyina eka kire wo se sa abre we de abrewa ayipuma kwanim enti nananom ayi owura Yao Ajare a yasi ne hene se Sunyanihemaa na edin a yede amano ne odefo Ogyeamansan boa henkokwa otoso mienu sa krata we nso o de Canada die ho na krata we nso hwe a o de copy koma Kingmakers asi ahene for obi anya ne copy na ahemba anya ne copy jase hene nya ne copy Chidom hene nya ne copy Royal Gate nyina adehia no nso ebia enya sa krata we e copy enti na dance die no ne a nkrata o de support ono ne nkurubo eno no ena ye nana Ogyeamansan nso nkrata o de support ne nkurubo no eni otwa babia ohwa babia yegina babia begina ya be ma owura Yao Ajare esua ya o kan se enhye oman na nibonyam no otwa samfo yini no edebai enuni babia yede owura Yao Ajare egina ye no o se eyi dua biase enti otwa samfo yini no edebai enuni ode ye no so eka ni nkurubo ho se etiamra ni tiamamre se yedi obi ebegyina dua bi ase sorry dua no ase ni babia ye Sunyanihemaa kire se yedi owu ajare egyina ye mani so ase Sunyanihemaa ya pano no wono ene wo hoyi obi a wo hwe bia ubehu se dua ase o se ya hemfie dada no anima ya to wall afa ho nso ene atiefo moa na mubetimi ajeje eno ene wo hoyi na eno achi no ye na Ogyeamansan ne nkrobom no eno aso ni o ze uru ajare ono ne kita afna ede bofom no na chese wa brand ho ase ama nananom atrankonya obistrai ede achiro sa fotowi ye na Ogyeamansan ode supporto ode ye adansidie ede ma kwadu a ode ball na akwamhene ena nana Ogyeamansan bo ahenkoko a otosumiru anase Mr. Yo ajare sa na ni dintie o kratam ode sa fotowi eka na dansidie ho now ade ba ko a osa ede kan na dansidie ho ene Sunyani mai be ela anase mra be kurchire gu krata so ma House of Chiefs ejitu mu no eno so nana ede kan na dansidie ho na Hemaa de kan na dansidie ho se eye SBC ntino na SBC no so ohwe mu pa de a ose nomination. The Queen Mother shall, in consultation with the Hemaa and the elders of the royal family, make their choice to the Kingmakers as mentioned in paragraph 2 of this instrument through the Jasehene. Na chese Queen Mother nana Ogyeamansan one Hemaa ne abusuya adehia abusuya no enihia na benyina be faadwen na be pa odehie anase adehia be fata se be di akonwa no bia eyiye na be de saafo no ema Kingmakers na be yibi. Now enti nomination no there according to the airline no Queen Mother no Ogyeamansan no ne ebo saafo no din de kire asia henefo no baha no osi election or selection say ye toaba ayideshia no de osi the election or selection of a candidate for the Boahin Koko stool shall be done by the Kingmakers as mentioned in paragraph 2 of this instrument. The election no de say ye toaba ayi saafo no de Kingmakers no basa de se be no betoaba eyi enti so Hemaa no bodihye no din na ode adehye no ana adehye no ema Kingmakers no wia ene na chese wawie na duma enti se bebeyi your friends adehye no de Kingmakers no ana se asi ahenefo no boduma the selection shall be by consensus. And in the event of the candidate being rejected by the Kingmakers, the Queen Mother shall have 2 or more chances to nominate. The Kingmakers shall select a candidate of their choice from the royal family if the 3 nominations by the Queen Mother are rejected by the Kingmakers, and shall take place during the daytime at the palace of the Kruntihine. The elected or selected candidate shall pay as that. They all can have under selection and say, or say selection no ye power, and I say ye tradition so about you know the Kingmakers no. Na se Hemaa no de this year ni di kanko na betutu na no mfata na bepono a o ho kwanso ode ne etoso mienu ko ode no etoso miensa ko na Kingmakers no anye na ntuma efiri hoko no de Kingmakers no ba be wo ho kwanse be pedihye foforo na bede no esi akonwa no so sa ena ela no etie. Enti sa dansidie ya Yenana Ogyeamansan Sunyanihemaa ede e support ni nkrubo ene sankrata we nso a yenana akwamhene a osan ye acting president of Sunyani Traditional Council ono ede support ni nkrubo no eso ena abodwafo ejina ye hwehwemu na bedi atimu no eyeden ebae na atimu no na sabri mebe kinkai ede achre atiefui ose analysis and opinion of the committee. It is right that injunction is a discretionary remedy that a court may grant if it thinks it just or convenient to do so. It may be granted unconditionally or upon set terms and conditions as the court shall think. Just Order 25 R1 of the High Court Civil Procedure Rules 2004 CI 47 stipulates that, quote, the court may grant an injunction by an interlocutory order in all cases in which it appears to the court to be just or convenient to do so, and the order may be made either unconditionally or upon such terms and conditions as the court considers just. Near all can say, oh, here court to mramunoa, court to mra say, ye court or no, na sadia say, or ye nhwehwemu say, or the tabo betu obiso anase omfantosono. Ye court no ni nimdiem. Bibia enhye court no. Se chinchinchina say. Ode obi aka se yemfa tabo nto obiso no. Court no de teso. Ye court no ni nimdiem eno obeye sadwuma. It is opposite to mention that there is a long line of cases that have espoused the principle that the grant or refusal of an interlocutory injunction is an exercise in discretion, and the court will grant same when it appears to it to be just and convenient to do so. Or say, namra emakwane se obi ede adisredia kokko to say court nhwe na omfa tabo ento obi so a eyo court no ana dwenem e na obeye nhwehwemu ahu se efata ebeboa so de tabo no ebeto sa nipa kro no so ana se emboa se ode tabo no ebeto sa nipa kro no so. The order will also be made to protect a right where the legal right could be asserted at law or in equity. In exercising that discretion, the court is not bound to follow precedents as each case has to be determined on its merit. However, we shall quickly add that there are guidelines that have been laid down in established cases, and courts are willing to follow those guidelines when considering applications for injunctions. Near all can say court nhwehwemu se ode tabo ebeto obi eso anase omfanto so no court no enhwe se bia sipen court no nhwe se asem bi siye wo se ye de tabo to nipa asmasi so enti sa asem krono bi ana asem a ese ebiasia yemfa tabo nto nipa asmasi so no court no enhwe sa na mum court no ebehwe se asem na edapon so no efata se ode tabo eto sa asem no so ana se nipa na obi se yemfa tabo nto no so no yere beto no so na ni nyina achi no o se generally court kwana court etim gina so a court ewo na otim de tabo eto obi so no eyembiensa enuni. Also, it has always been my understanding that the requirements for the grant of interlocutory injunction are: first, the applicant must establish that there is a serious question to be tried. Or say, wa was let's say yemfa tabo ento obi so no. Ese say, uti umbo unkro, na unkro no edimiye pa say yes. E wasem na wokam. E yasema eto asomo a se ye de tabo no eto nipa no so a. Second, that he or she suffer irreparable damages which cannot be remedied by the award of damages unless the interlocutory injunction is granted. Or say, court no besana ahwehwem say, wa was there say yemfa tabo ento obi so no. Say yamfa tabo na nto say nipa kro no so a, wo obekọ ahokyere ma, ahokyere a emu edene say yes anase ye ma ho mpatade kura no a wa ho kyere no enya de asam patade no kura no ebeti ebeye aniso eno court no behwe saade no. Number 3, that the balance of convenience is in favor of granting him or her the interlocutory injunction. The balance of convenience means weighing up the disadvantages of granting the relief against the disadvantages of not granting the relief. Or say, court no so behwe say, na anyebia adesrede anipa simasi abesrese yemfa tabo ento nipa simasi sui. Say yede to so ane ebeboa na say yamfa nto so ane ebeboa. Court na dwenim no ode saa nsem mienu ebetu nsaniani na wakari. Na ni ebekari ne yonko no eno ne ode be yaduma. Enti saa guidelines ana saa ajinaso miensa wei ena Bono Regional House of Chiefs Judicial Committee ehweye ede saa atemwoi a mede bai anaba kruchiri agu krata isu ede bai enti atemwo no ni na yentie. Also, now having regard to the competing claims of the parties and given the affidavit evidence and facts of the case, it can be discerned that the instant application is meritless, since the applicant has not been able to make any serious claim against the respondents. Also, kwa ye nana Ogyeamansan eboye ede bo owura ya wojare ene nana akwamhene no bebie mu no na kwadu no emu nyeduru se bede tabo eto safo no so eyeye. In the estimation of this committee, the application is not worth granting in the circumstances. Under Order 25 Rule 1 of C1 447, the court is enjoined to consider and grant the application if the same is just and convenient to do so. Or say court mra Order Rule 25 Rule 1 of CI 47 court mra wakotui. Eno na eshe court bia se onya nhwehwemu se efata ana se mfata so ode tabo ebeto obia so. We are of the firm opinion that the circumstances of this case makes it rather unjust and inconvenient to grant the application or injunct the respondents. The application is accordingly refused. Now, or say, enti bade Sunyanihemaa na no asem etu Sunyani na no asem ene adanse a ode kan na no asem ho ene owura jare ene nana kwamhina na obobekwa adu beso ba no asem ene adanse a bede kan ba no asem no ho no beye nhwehwemu no na owura jare ene nana kwamhene ba no asem ne adanse a bede kan ba no asem ho no ekari kwadu a ye nana Ogyeamansan ede bo won ene adanse a ode ne kan kwadu no ho no enti bede tu Sunyani no na kyerese ne taabo no a osre court sɛ ɔmfanto saafo no so no enya de a Bono Regional House of Chiefs Court no eji tuma ebeyeye enti babo ede ato agu na nananum a betna asem no so ene okokyere dom setiakon a otosumienu a oye drobo manhene ona otna ponoti ena dasebre Ogyeamansan dudu ampem a ono so ye se kwa manhene ena Osabarima Debra Ajeyi the second a ono so ye se kwa manhene ena Mr. Kwaku Jamra a oye Bono Regional House of Chiefs President. Very, very atimui ebaya. Ono for a high African History and Heritage TV. Yere injunction tabuono atimu naba se court no anyantum. Nambum no asemba no de ye nana Obahema ede Sunyanihemaa ede kodan Bono House of Chiefs no se benka benye hwehwemu na bemu a ne bem se owu ajare omfata se yede ne yehene efise kwan a yefa so eyi no ene kwa yede no esi akonwa so no na ne nsa nim no afei ena court no ekoduedue sa asem no na eno soso no African History and Heritage TV yede ya ni bedi akiri na se dia ebesi bia no yede ho amanebo ebeba abeto yatiefo ne yahwefo anim eha eye African History and Heritage TV na wo ye episode a etoso miensa no mu no ye ni abodwafo no ebesi nkonwa na yaduedue mu ne ya baba atemu a Bono Regional House of Chiefs yi edisi ede baaye na adwenkyere anase afutusem a abodwafo nso betim de ama boahenkoko abusua ene nananom Sunyane nananom atrenkonwa se benye bibia adobre na Sunyane de ekita dimpa se Sunyane eye bia bia ehadwo asomdwe wo ha na otena bobra eyeye na sa dimpa no Sunyane agye no ema yense no na ha eye Bono Regional Capital na ye regional capital pa asoye a president or president politician kase bia oba region no mo a eha eno dikane so ye no se sasem we ebisi ha de a enya de a ebehye Bono region enmunyam ye hwe Sunyani University akase miensa ene wo ha na Bono Regional House of Chiefs headquarters isiga eha na ye regional minister na traye no a na asem wo yesia na esese nananom epene pomasibre ewo asomdwe kwanso enti ye ne nananom bi ebesi nkonwa na African History and Heritage TV ya manananom a kire badwen kwan a bebe faso a bebe kasa asem we ewo asomdwe kwanso na emfa wanchi ene basbasa yubia emma Sunyani eha eye African History and Heritage TV yedamase yatiefo yemamumuni tie enyado